Guess give us the emotions right now after securing a UFC deal.
It's surreal, man. I've dreamed of this moment for the last 10, 15 years, and especially living it close with my teammates. All my teammates are in the UFC. I corner them to UFC events every week, in and out, every month, helping them train for UFC fights, and finally being one of them and being in the UFC with them, it's very surreal to me.
What's that feeling like? I mean, obviously, I guess in one way it's an example, right? You know what you have to do to get there, but is it discouraging at all when you consider, see these people go on and you're still there?
It can be. It can be discouraging. I mean, how is it not? They're all in the UFC in the big leagues, and you're fighting for a lower organization. Everybody wants to be in the UFC, and yeah, I mean, the fact that I'm basically one of the only ones outside the UFC, it kind of discouraged me a little bit. But I knew with Coach Safe's help, I was going to get there eventually. I just had to be patient.
What was the feeling like in the build-up to this? Right, you get a change of opponent. Opponent misses weight. I mean, what's going through your mind as all that's kind of unfolding?
My mind was locked in the moment I took the fight, so it didn't matter if I got 3-4 opponent changes or my opponent missed weight by 5-10 pounds. I was going to take the fight regardless, and this was going to happen regardless of who it was or whether or not they made weight.
Nice. He had a kind of a decent start. I mean, obviously you got the job done pretty quickly, but I mean, how did the fight play out versus your expectations?
He did catch me by surprise, but I knew he was going to be a dog. I knew how good he was, how fast he was, how athletic he was. So I knew basically everything he was going to do, and he still caught me with a couple shots. That's how good he was. I knew he was a dog, and he kept coming forward. But he started getting a little reckless, and I knew he was going to have to pay. I'm a good counter fighter. I knew he was going to pay eventually if he kept coming like that, and he eventually did.
Nice. Did you know you were going to get the job done with your hands tonight? I mean, was that the plan coming in?
Yes, I knew I was going to get the job done with my hands regardless. I've been working for a finish for the last, 4 fights, and when I had him up against the cage, I felt like I could take him down, and I just didn't feel like it. I think he was getting the better of the stand-up at that point, and I didn't want it to end like that. I didn't want to take him down and finish it there. I wanted to stand up and show him that I was better than him. Nice.
And once you dropped him, I mean, do you remember a conscious thought of like, we're going to finish it now, right? Because if you gas out, if you use too much energy and it ends up being a 3-round fight, maybe it's trouble. Do you remember that kind of thinking like, no, we're going to do it now?
The way the right hand landed and the way it felt when it landed, I knew I could get him out. So that I saw red and I knew I could get him out that second. I usually, when I drop people, I usually get their back and work my jiu-jitsu and my grappling. But once that right hand connected, I knew he was done.
So many people on your team have come through here, right? I mean, they've done this. Were they able to give you any advice or anything that you held on to that made this an easier process tonight?
Oh man, every single day just training with them. They're my best friends. They're like my family. And every single day at that gym, I learned something new, whether if it's from Steven Peterson, from Oz Johns, from Damon Jackson. The list goes on and on. Every single day, I learned something new from them. And it's learning something that they've been through in the recent years, They've been through this moment not too long ago. So yeah, of course, me and Miles Johns talked about this moment for a long time. Steven Peterson's been like my older brother, and he's walked me through all these moments, telling me how it's going to happen. It's like he knows what's going to happen before it happens. He told me, you're going to go out there, you're going to win, and then you're going to get signed. So, they've all just walking me through it.
That's awesome. Last thing for me, I guess, you got the job done tonight. So what's the next step? I mean, obviously it's the UFC debut, but, are you want to do it quickly? Do you need some time away? Is there a date you want to fight? Is there an opponent want you to fight? What's next?
No, I mean, I'm ready to go by Monday. I'm going to go, spend some time with my family, clear some things up, and then I'll be ready to go by Monday. I like to fight this year again. Of course, my dream would fight on any Brandon Moreno card, of course, with the Mexicans. I'd love to fight on one of his cards. So if I could get one of Brandon Moreno's cards, that'd be great. But, I mean, if I can, I'll be ready whenever. I'll be ready in 2-3 weeks, ready to go.
I think he's fighting in December, right? So does that December sound good?
I'll be ready to go by December for sure.
Fernie, felicidades con el triunfo. Un mensaje claro para la gente que te apoya desde Juárez a Texas hasta ahora en Las Vegas, que empieza tu carrera adentro del octágono.
Disculpa, ¿no te escuché, mande?
Felicidades con el triunfo. Un mensaje rápido nomás para la gente desde Juárez a Texas y aquí ahora en Las Vegas, que te va a apoyar, que comienza tu carrera dentro del octágono.
No, nomás que muchas gracias a todos los juarenses que me apoyaron. Duré mucho tiempo de mi niñez ahí en Juárez conviviendo con todos los juarenses y amo a Juárez, mucho amor para Juárez. Y yo también crecí en El Paso, Texas, también mucho amor para ellos. Y nada, nomás decir muchas gracias por todo el soporte que me han dado.
Hablaste de alguien parte de tu equipo con Miles. ¿Qué te pudo decir él? ¿Qué te preparó para el momento? Que claro, no exactamente podemos ver en su bolita de cristal, pero ¿qué fue la ventaja de que él te pudo preparar para este gran momento de tu carrera?
Él fue el que me dijo que mi mano derecha tenía poder. La tiro sin mucho poder siempre. Tiro mucho volumen, mucho volumen sin poder. Y él fue el que me ayudó a agarrar más poder en esa mano derecha. Me enseñó unos trucos y cómo contragolpear con la mano derecha con más poder y la trabajamos mucho esta semana.
De acuerdo, man. Y sabes que hablando de esa recta, explícame un poquito de cuándo pudiste finalizarlo, porque cuando tiraste la mano derecha parece que lo bloqueó y con todo eso lo pudiste mandar a la lona, ¿o sí conectó atrás de su guardia?
Sí conectó abajo, atrás de su guardia, abajo de su oído en su equilibrio y fue muy dura. En cuanto conectó, perdió su balance y supe que lo podía terminar de ahí.
De acuerdo, y mencionaste a Moreno, claro, ahorita tenemos estrellas. Ortega acaba de retar por el título, peso pluma, tienes Irene Aldana de Guadalajara, Canelo en el boxeo, Brandon que agarró el título. ¿Cómo se siente ser parte ahora de esa familia dentro del UFC que tiene a Latinoamérica en lo más alto?
Pues encantado, yo encantado de representar a los mexicanos. Yo sabía que los mexicanos iban a venir a ese deporte y a hacer cosas grandes. Obviamente Brandon Moreno llegó y se convirtió en ídolo de un día a otro y ojalá seguir sus pasos de él.
De acuerdo, man, pues felicidades y buena suerte con todo.
Muchas gracias.
What's up, buddy?
Man, heck of a night. Does this one overall stand out to you?
Yeah, I think that's what everybody was saying in the back, that this is the best one yet. I mean, these kids, it gets harder and harder every week because you see these guys that come in, you look at their records, you see what they've done, you look at their opponents. I mean, this kid Patrick White, his opponents' records are 16-4. I mean, the kid's 9-1. He's got 9 knockouts. And, you got Valdez 10-0, and these guys go to war. This is the place to be on Tuesdays, man, if you're a fight fan. These kids are fighting their asses off. So fun. When I was younger, I couldn't wait for USA's Tuesday night fights religiously. I didn't give a shit what was going on in my life. I watched USA's Tuesday night fights. This smokes USA's Tuesday night fights. Smokes it.
That first fight, I wanted to ask you about that because that was one of the craziest pace. I mean, we've seen some great fights lately, but as you said, for White to come out there and literally just run forward and just start throwing down, I mean, is that like the example of what you want people to do when they come out here?
No. No. You come here and do whatever it is you do. However you fight, whatever your style is, you come in here and you just try to put on the best performance that you've ever had in your entire career. Some nights are your nights, some nights aren't. I'm not asking anybody to just run into harm's way and try to whatever. You and your team know what you got, know who you are. And plus, I say it every week, I'll say it again, the matchmaking on this show is unbelievable. Even though we have issues where guys fall out and we get late replacements, the fights are still incredible. So you know what you're good at, you know what you're not, come out here and do your best to try to win.
Yeah. I did want to ask you about Valdez. Obviously, he was transported. Was that for the cut that was on his leg? Or
it was a war. I mean, the guy was in a war. Patrick's mouthpiece came out, and the whole round I was like, Jesus Christ, put his mouthpiece back. But he broke his front teeth out in that fight. So you got that kid with the teeth, and then I don't know what Valdez has, but that was a war.
Wow. I did want to ask you about Joseph Holmes as well, where you put him on Dana White's looking for a fight. He didn't seem especially thrilled with
Yeah, he didn't seem too happy about that. But you know what? It's a great opportunity for him. If you think about him coming, first of all, he's 26 years old. He's 6-1 now. Let's give him a little bit more experience, get him 7-1. He wins both fights back to back. We'll match make that fight. We'll put that fight on, and he'll come off the Contender series. Looking for a fight does over 1 million views in the first 3 days. So it's such a massive opportunity for these kids. So for him to have it back to back, and if he wins again, I like him. I like his personality. I like his fighting style. So let's see what he does next month in Denver.
Is it as simple as just win and get in, or is it kind of like hey, you got to show me a little something too?
Listen, if he can win these 2 fights back to back, he'll be 8-1. I'll give him his shot in the UFC. I just want to give the kid the best opportunity to succeed, and I wanted to sign him, but I said let's give him one more fight. He accepted it, so it's a good opportunity for him. Really good.
Yeah. The other 3 winners, Malat, Hernandez, Garcia, I'm just curious, did any of those performances stand out most to you, or was there anybody that you looked at and said, man, we got somebody special, I think, tonight?
If you look at the Garcia fight, great chin, kid, awesome counter puncher, got big power, going in against a kid who didn't make weight, still took the fight, and looked very impressive, and is now 10-1. And then Hernandez. Hernandez fought a kid with twice as much experience as him. And again, when you look at opponents, 44-19, his opponent's records just. And then the main event was a no-brainer with Mike. Big, powerful, strong kid, Canadian. No-brainer.
No question. Just 2 quick ones outside of night, Dana. I wanted to ask you, we'd been talking about fighter pay, and you said anybody can tell you how much they make. I was curious what you thought about Conor McGregor releasing pay-per-view.
Did he tell you what he makes?
Well, he didn't say what he made. I don't think he did that, but he did put out a tweet that showed his contract in January, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Are you okay with guys putting out information like that? That it's the hard number that we don't normally see?
Listen, I told you the fighter pay thing. It doesn't matter to me. If these guys want to let you know what they make, you guys asked Holland the other day, and what did he say? He said people were hitting him up for money after I said it. That's it. Most of these guys want what's called an LOA, where you don't get to see their money. Most of the fighters want an LOA. They don't want people to know how much they make. And you can imagine why they don't. People start coming out of the woodwork and looking for money when they think you got it. I think everybody likes the whole, the poor UFC fighters don't make any money, because then nobody's asking them for money. So.
Well, are you okay with guys posting pay-per-view buy rates, or would you prefer that information stay private as well?
I don't really give a shit anymore. Listen, you guys all know Conor's making fucking truckloads of money, and he's doing well. Most of the pay-per-views that come out are, close or in the ballpark of what they are. So no real big secrets out there.
Sounds good. Last thing for me, Danny, it's not MMA related, but we did have a combat sports death with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just curious, I know it doesn't, are you concerned that things like that can impact the UFC and mixed martial arts as well? And do you have any thoughts about, kind of the role that the commission or the organization or what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen?
Well, let me start here. First of all, is anybody shocked? In bare knuckle fighting, I'm not a big fan, and I guess I would call it concern when I see some of our people when they leave here and go there, and it's like, oh my God. But when you look at this, we've been putting on fights for 25 years. I've done over 7,000 fights with no serious injuries in the UFC. And We've had some broken bones, some bad broken bones, the shin bone being the worst because it just blows our mind when that bone breaks, and cuts. I mean that's what we have. But the reality is, when I talk about, this goes hand in hand with what we talked about with fighter pay and the money that we invest back in this sport. The number one thing to us is fighter safety. Fighter safety is a very big deal to us, has been since day one. We ran toward regulation. We do extensive pre, post fight medicals. We follow up afterwards with these guys. And I say this all the time. When you make sure that you've spent the right amount of money to make sure that you have healthy athletes competing, going into training, then during the fight, and then you make sure, the other night when Ortega fought, right? I walked into the octagon and I told his corner, I do not do an interview, do not talk to any media, I want you to go straight back, they're ready for you, they're gonna put him in an ambulance and take him out of here. Get him right out of there and get him whatever. Then I'm walking out of the arena and I hear him doing an interview with Rogan, you know? I didn't want him to do an interview. I wanted him to leave and go. We do this all the time when we see guys that are whatever. And every year, we spend over $20 million on athlete medical, $20 million a year. Health and wellness or whatever it may be. And 25% of our athletes, we send to specialists. So a guy will come and his brain test won't come out. It'll be irregular. So we send him to a specialist. His heart, something was irregular with his heart. He goes and sees a heart, or she goes and sees a heart specialist. And we spend the money to find out, whatever it is that's wrong with them. And as a result of that, our pre-fight screening, throughout the last 20 years, we found 10 athletes that had life-threatening, medical problems with them, and that career-ending, that they shouldn't be fighting. That if they weren't in the UFC, they probably would have fought and they probably would have died. So, listen, this is and that doesn't include the Cleveland Clinic, which we've been doing for over 10 years now, studying fighters' brains and following up to make sure that these guys are safe. There's a lot of shit talk about us. Nobody does even remotely close to what we do in this sport. It's never been done what we do, and nobody ever will. It's just, so when you talk about, we shouldn't even be talked about in the same sentence as bare knuckle boxing. It's not even, it's two completely different worlds. And yes, we're very sorry to hear that this guy passed away. But you're never going to see any of these other organizations doing the type of, health, safety, and medical testing that we do for our athletes.
Dana, just off the back of that, you say that these other promotions won't do the same sort of stuff as you guys, and I think that's probably fair. So does that mean it's time for the commissions to step up? Like, we've seen this trend recently of older guys coming out, fighting again, and it looks like Evander and stuff like that. Is this a sad reminder that commissions actually have a job to step in and stop these fights from being made?
100%. We work closely with the commissions too, but the thing is, whatever the commission says we have to do, we go way above and beyond that. The truth is that this is a rough sport, but when you do the right medical testing and you spend the money, these are our fighters, these are our athletes. You have to make sure that these people are healthy. And there's never going to be a situation where an almost 60-year-old Evander Holyfield is healthy to fight. You're never going to convince me of that.
It's a bit of weird to switch gears, but going back to tonight, is it harder to say no to a guy when Uriah Faber is next to your head shouting that he deserves a contract?
That's who I was just fighting with when I came in here. I was fighting with Faber. Yeah, no, it isn't hard with Faber yelling. Faber never stops yelling in my ear.
Do you get many fighters hitting you up when their guys are on? Do you get many text messages and messages?
The whole night, yeah. If their fighter is involved, yes. I get the text saying I have to sign him.
With Patrick White at the beginning, you know, it's a bit of a weird start, like he didn't have his cup in or his mouthpiece, and then he comes out and fights like a crazy man for a couple of rounds. Are we likely to see him back here again? Because he might not be refined, but he's certainly exciting.
That's another thing that happened tonight. I was talking about how his mouthpiece came out and his teeth broke, you know, and I was talking to Herb after the fight about it, and Herb was saying he had a piece of shit mouthpiece, like a dollar mouthpiece that you would buy. So that's one of the things that we're going to make sure now, that when these kids come here, if they don't have a really good mouthpiece or cup or whatever it might be, we'll make sure that we get that taken care of before the fight happens. We could have a dentist come in here and mold a mouthpiece for these kids, you know, the day they get here if they don't have the proper one. So that's one of the things that we'll start checking too when kids show up here.
Two more quick ones from me. Bit of a shout out to Dan Hooker, and I'm assuming this is the sort of fighter that you love, a throwback to the old days where he'll just take fights as soon as they're offered. Can you talk about Dan Hooker taking that Islam fight?
Yeah, ton of respect for him. You know, when RDA fell out, we were looking at a few guys, and Hooker literally stepped up and said, "I'm in. I'll take it. Whatever you need." So, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know how it all worked out, but I was hearing it was going to mean that he's going to be spending some time away from his family. You know, he's going to be away from his family for a while. So, ton of respect for him for taking that, especially against a guy like Islam.
And lastly for me, I know you were there last time. Do you have a prediction for Fury Wilder this weekend?
I just think Fury's too good. I think Fury's got that number.
Me too.
So Dana, it looks like Dawkins and Holland is in the works. Is that a done deal for sure, happening, that rematch? It looks like it's happening possibly next month.
Yeah. Did we announce it yet?
I think sides have talked about it, but I don't think you guys have said anything yet.
Yeah.
But you could feel free.
Well, yeah, it's being worked on. Yes.
Now, is that them hitting you guys up saying make this happen, or is this you guys saying, hey,
I
guys,
don't know how this came about. You know, Holland fought the other night, had the headbutt situation, then apprehended a suspect in Texas and held him till the police came. Now he's got another fight. I mean, this kid ended up being, you know, I like him very much. He and I have become close. He's a special kid. I like him a lot.
And that was kind of my follow-up. Do you ever feel like you should say something to the fighters? Like, I know you guys are fit, you're athletic, you want to go out there and do things, but do you ever try to tell them, hey, maybe if you see a robbery, don't get involved? I mean, I know you guys used to tell them not to go jet skiing and not to do dangerous things.
Yeah.
That kind of went out the window, but...
Stay out of violent crimes. I think it's just, realistically, when you really think about it and you look at our athletes, these guys really are fucking superheroes, man. I mean, they really are. And you know, I know this is a weird one to bring up right now, but even John Jones, you know, during the stuff that was going on last year, was walking through Albuquerque and slapping kids and taking spray paint cans out of their hands because they were graffitiing up his town. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, these guys really are superheroes in a lot of ways, man. It's cool.
Thanks, Dana.
Dana, with the retirement of someone who luckily won't be doing exhibition fights, just a quick statement on him, and if he ever was to fight Conor, your thoughts on Pacquiao retiring, and was Pacquiao and Conor ever really going to happen?
What was the question about the exhibition? You know, had Conor beat Poirier, I know that they were talking about it. I know they wanted to do it. You know, obviously there was a lot of things that needed to happen for that fight to happen, and they didn't, so it didn't. But I don't know. I don't know if that fight would have ever happened. And did you ask me a question about exhibitions?
No, luckily Pacquiao won't be doing exhibitions.
Exhibitions, yeah.
Just your thoughts on the legend retiring from
I'm not a
boxing.
big fan of exhibitions. It's just it's a bullshit loophole, you know, in the system for guys that shouldn't be fighting to be able to fight, you know. But whatever, man.
And your thoughts on Pacquiao, just in general,
I'm a huge fan. Always been a huge fan. I love the guy personally and professionally. You know, he was so fun to watch and accomplished incredible things. And he also looks like a guy that's going to have an amazing political career one way or the other, now that he's retired. So good for him. Couldn't happen to a better human being.
Thank you, Dana.
Yep.
Dana, just last one here. How serious do you take this Henry Cejudo talk of coming back to fight Volkanovski? He said you guys are having a meeting this week.
I don't know. I listen. He retired, and you've been off all this time, and you want to come back and fight Volkanovski, and jump the line, and jump over Max and all these other guys that have been there. It's a tough conversation.
But Alex says he wants to fight before Jair and Max fight. He's willing to fight even 155ers.
So you think I should do it?
I think it's a fun fight, but I don't call the shots.
Do you think I should do it? Is what you're saying?
In my opinion, I think it's a great fight, but
So yes.
yes.
Okay. I'll take that into consideration.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good? Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Bonuses before, now we're getting fighting food. Alex wants to fight.
Mike, congratulations. I'm sure, again, it's probably all still setting in and still processing it all, but what's the emotion like for you right now?
It's calmed down a little bit now. I was really emotional after the fight, man. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? It's over. Like, it honestly felt like, for the first time, it felt like my pro debut where I submitted a guy in something similar. It was like 30-something seconds. I'm like, are you kidding me? All the work I've put in all these years, that's it? It's done? We just go home now? We don't run it back? We don't get super tired and I start bleeding and get beat up in front of my mom? Like, this is how it happens? All right, cool. I'm pretty ecstatic.
No doubt. You talked about the experience of being here, right, and kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Not for your own fight, obviously, but so many other times. Right. Did that benefit you at all tonight? I mean, is that a tangible thing that helped you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I felt really comfortable in this room. I felt I've been in this building to work like a dozen times or so. I've been coaching other guys, being here for other guys' fights. Like, I felt comfortable in this room. I know what the drive's like. I've stayed at that hotel. I'm pretty sure I've stayed in that same room before. Like, I've been at that hotel. I've been to the grocery store we're gonna go to. Like I felt like I was like, all right, yeah, this is how you do it after training for 3 months and working your ass off. You do this exact thing. It's not like overwhelming new feelings again and again, right? I felt really at home.
You didn't get a lot of opportunity to see your opponent in there, but I guess did the fight play out as you thought it would, or did he have any surprises or anything that surprised you in that little short time?
I didn't think he'd go for a takedown quite so early. I wasn't surprised that he level changed. When he gets pressured, he often will level change and get a shot off and try and take the guy down and look to stay heavy on top. I kind of studied his game pretty well, so I wasn't shocked, but I thought he'd try and keep it standing and striking a lot more. I felt like the biggest disparity in our game was our wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Even when he shot in for the takedown, he technically got on top, but I didn't register it as a takedown. I was like, okay, I have the front headlock. Like, I'm getting on top with this. If I sweep him, if I choke him, like, you might have gotten on top, but you aren't the one that's in control. I felt really strong in that position. And then when he started passing the guard, I had like a reverse butterfly kind of corner guard, reverse shield guard type hook in. And I was like, I felt like I could easily get that neck. It got deep. I was like, oh, he's not addressing this properly. All right, let's follow it up. Like, the game plan wasn't to jump back on the first submission I had, just like the last time you saw me fight. It wasn't to jump on the first neck that I found. But hey, if it's there, let's go, man. Like, I feel comfortable scrambling. If he had gotten out of that guillotine, I felt comfortable getting on top or getting back up and putting the pressure on him.
As you said, you're in that choke very, very early. I mean, did you have to register like, hey, this is very early. If I burn my arms out, it's going to be a problem, or did you know right away, like, let's squeeze it until it's done?
I didn't feel like I was putting a lot of energy into it, to be honest. I felt like I was given a good like 60% squeeze, but I think Alpha Male has the best guillotine in the game, and I learned it from the best over there, Uriah Faber, and I feel comfortable guillotining guys. I feel comfortable getting that squeeze and knowing like we put the hard work in. So I'm like, look, if I really give her for a submission in the first minute and fill my arms up with blood, like I know I'm in shape to shake my arms back out and be able to strike with this guy as soon as we start standing. Like it definitely wasn't I need to get this now. Like this is the first opportunity and I'm going to sell out on it. And I'm going to put all my chips in, like I felt fine in there.
We're always looking for interesting stories, whatever. I mean, can you say how special this week is for your family? I mean, it's like stuff of a movie or something, right?
It's wild. I'm waiting to wake up, man. Like, there's no way this is actually how my life is going right now. Like, my brother's been a lifelong hockey player, and he's always been a stud in hockey. I played as well, but I sucked growing up. So I had to give up on my hockey dreams and settle for this. As if. But, no, he's... It's really cool. Like he's a killer hockey player. Like my sisters are both great athletes too. Like my sister, we didn't talk about it a lot, but she was a world-class figure skater. So I mean, like my youngest sister's still in high school, so she's I'm sure she'll find her niche as well. But it's pretty cool to just see us grow up and kind of follow our dreams like this. It's pretty wild.
Nice. Last thing for me, obviously job done tonight. I got to imagine you're pretty healthy coming out of this for as little as you were in there. So what's the plan for the debut? I mean, is there a date on the calendar you'd like to debut? Is there an opponent that you'd like to see already? What's the plan from now?
No, I don't have any call outs or dates or anything like that. Like I'm really taking it one step at a time. Obviously, there's like goals of I want to have this many fights in the UFC or I want to win this or that. It's like really I'm focused on the food that's in front of me. Like that fight was what was on my plate. I had to deal with that. I'm not really looking past this kid. Like that kid's good, man. Kid's 7-0. He beat 7 other good professional fighters. He's not a joke. It wasn't like I was getting a gift walking in here. That kid definitely could have kicked my ass if I had screwed around. So I was really focused on him, really focused on this training camp. As far as like what's next, I'm going to get back to Alpha Male pretty soon, back to SAC and just get back to training. We've got Cody Garbrandt fighting in December, so help him get ready for his fight. And back to training and coaching and just living the martial arts life, man. It's pretty great.
seen this closet before. There's just blue. I don't know where the